Welcome all, welcome all. I'm your host, Soli. With me is another lovely guest, a moderator at the PAX Theater in Santa Monica, California. And since September 27th, 2021, she has been the co-host of the You Need to See This podcast with Cozy Orlin. Welcome, comedian and crew member, Bree Jones.
Hi. Hi, thanks for having me.
Anytime. Love always just seeing just various people working in the world of entertainment and just such diversity, and they got stories to share.
Yeah, where are you based out of
I'm actually in Dallas, Texas. It's all good.
You're in Dallas. Okay, cool. Well, I have not been to Dallas. No. Been to El Paso, and San Antonio. That's probably and Austin.
Avoid the highways, all I'll say.
Yeah.
So you've been podcasting and checking out at this for quite a while, but where did the interest begin? When did you decide, hey, I'll do all kinds of crew member positions. I'll do, I love movies. I love TV. I love studying all forms of entertainment. What caused that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess just kind of like everyone who loves, grew up watching movies with like my dad, and like, I guess I didn't really have like an interest then, or like really like considered filmmaking like a career.
I can't do that
point. Yeah. I was like, oh, people like, I just like thought movies happened, and I was like, oh, there's like, later on I learned, oh, there's like people make careers out of this and have jobs. And I think later in high school I had like a group of friends that we would just make like dumb, I would always record, I forgot what the name of the device is, but it was like this camera that came out where it was like a big red button. It felt like kind of geared toward, I was like, it reminded me of like that jitterbug phone that they like sell now to like older people. And I was like, this is like the simplest camera. And it was like, it almost looked like a Game Boy Advance kind of interface. And I used to just record like my friends, like, and I just doing dumb stuff like at school. And then we started making like sort of just horrible skits like online, and then I called them skits. Now I know that they're called sketches, but at the time, we were watching like Whitest Kids and like
there you go,
and some Saturday Night Live and stuff. And so like I made them for fun, and then I went to college like trying to go for a degree in psychology, and then I like started taking film classes just on the side, and then I ended up switching majors, and that's sort of just like how it began, I guess.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that. I used to just always think, hey, there's no way anyone can do this. It's always these untouchable, larger than life people. And then you start doing alternate endings for movies and music videos, and then just doing your own stuff, and you upload and get some for feedback, and you grow out of that mentality. You just basically say, hey, I can make my way at this. It doesn't have to be seen by everybody, but it can happen.
Yeah. You just like want to make, it's just that drive to be creative, and like make art and have people see it regardless of, and I guess that continuing like drive to improve and just get better at it. And yeah. And then just kind of, I just came out to LA and just started volunteering as like a PA on like movie sets. And I actually met someone there.
Reality and game shows here. I applaud that.
Oh yeah. I've basically been in reality for since like the pandemic, pretty much, just because it's like I can work remotely, and it's the reality stuff is very different, but it's creative. It's definitely like its own version of like writing in a weird way.
And everyone has a funny story to tell about it, even if they're not crazy about the show itself. I was a contestant on Cheaters, and that's probably my best professional payday.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which is sad, because you would think, hey, being an extra or a crew member on a professional movie or show is like, yeah, but you got to also just really like the content. And if you're not liking the story or how the set is run, or if there's some people being nags at each other, then it's no fun.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and I feel like I battle that sometimes too, even working in reality, because there's definitely a layer of like creative manipulation, I would call it.
And I'm not mixed in with the contestants who aren't actors, so they have no idea of what a set is like.
Yeah.
I have to be on time. What?
Yeah, exactly. I don't show up on time. I'm here to just do what I want. I thought you were on my schedule. Did anyone speak to my agent? It's like, you don't have
You
an
don't
agent.
have an agent.
Yeah. Yeah, reality is really fun in its own way, but there's definitely like some stuff I've worked on, and I work in post, so I'm like editing and story producing. But
How did you make the
so
move from New Mexico to LA?
so I actually moved out here with my ex. We went to Arizona first. We moved to Arizona, and I had always wanted to come to LA because like I went to school for film, and I was like, that's where I want to go. Albuquerque was starting to kind of pick up a film industry when I was leaving, so I could have stayed there and probably like found it work, but LA was like Hollywood, and basically like he finished up school in Arizona and then we moved out to California. He got like an internship out here, and then I like got a internship in air quotes, which was just me working for free on a movie set.
Oh, there you go. Hey,
Yeah. And then I
that's a
met
credit.
someone on that set who actually introduced me to the Pack Theater, which was like how all that came about.
Sweet. How long has
Yeah.
the Pack Theater been around? I saw that there's a lot of people with connections there.
Yeah, I think the PAX, I mean, definitely longer than I've been a part of it. I think first went there in 2018, but
Mm.
a form of the pack, like it was like the Miles Stroth workshop before it was the pack, but it was like the same group of people. And it's sort of just like been like the punk rock like comedy theater, I guess, of LA is what they called
The
it, because it
punk
was like,
rock Upright
yeah,
Citizens Brigade.
yeah, because it was like UCB like up in its like early days, but like, it was pay what you can, it was bring your own beer. Um it's a little bit different now, but yeah, I mean the comedy scene is really fun there, and I felt like it was a good place for me to start, kind of experimenting with like live stuff. Like I'd never really done like a
Mm.
live show and live sketch, and yeah, just like a really welcoming community, especially to like newcomers. And yeah, I mean I'm still on a sketch team there, so
Sweet.
yeah, it's fun. It's good
What
stuff.
sounds like it. What warm up techniques do you recommend for anyone just getting into this? Because not everyone can do improv, but some people can, but don't find themselves funny when they don't realize trying to be funny and being funny are two different things.
Yeah, I guess warm up, I don't know. I mean, I think just I always think like riffing, like, if you have a group of friends and you're just kind of like, I like that's how I figured out. I was like, oh yeah, there's sort of like a root of comedy in just conversation. And it's like, I don't know, like you can kind of pick up, if you can just sort of be more observant of like when you're talking to your friends, and like you notice when you're kind of going on, you're riffing about something, and then you're kind of like going off on like, oh, this would be funny if this happened, like, and you kind of tell a story based on like whatever, you kind of go back and forth with your friends. And I think that's like a fun way to just kind of, if you just treat it like a conversation and like you're just having fun
Yeah,
with your friends, that's the way and I'm still like improv for sure is something I'm still even getting used to because I'm
it
like a
changed my
writer.
life.
Yeah. Improv's great. I love it. And I think it's such an important skill for like anybody, like even if you're not doing comedy or whatever, like I think it
Planning,
just,
just go out, do it instead of freeze up or, well, what do you think? Stop asking permission,
yeah.
just do
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's why they have like business meetings or, like they have like
it.
corporations do improv workshops. Like, yeah. How long have you been doing improv? I'm going to Q&A you now.
No, it's fine. I did it back in 2015, and I was like, see, in college is so much better doing this in stage combat because you do it in
Yeah.
junior high or high school. It sucks. Everyone's just imitating. This is in the 2000s and 2010s. Everyone was just imitating Chappelle's show and Mad TV, and it's like, dude, come up with your own shit.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, it's
that's not
true.
funny when you're actually trying. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think, yeah, it's just like haters, like they exist everywhere, I guess. And
Punks,
it,
man. But
yeah.
you learn so much about just incorporating it into your own philosophy
Finding your
and
voice and
uh,
like,
reminding
yeah.
yourself how anyone who became an actor, whether they were up to par or not, they had something that made them, uh, you know, not afraid of the stage anymore or had a certain look or able to play a certain way, so it kind of just changes your whole perspective on, hey, if you're going to have your friends act, get them comfortable, angle them a
Yeah.
certain way, edit them a certain way, cut out other lines of dialogue or bloopers they keep doing and make them look good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I learned a lot about casting and stuff too, like in college when I did like my senior thesis film or whatever, and like, and
Yes. Oh my God.
like you kind of, and it's funny because it's dramatic, and I'm
Were your
like way
professors
more.
really supportive, or were they the snobby kind? I was out of luck.
I think it depended on the day, honestly, but like,
Oh, it's even more
um,
unpredictable.
yeah, I think my script, they were really, it was like ambitious. It was like a period piece. And I think like they were trying to warn me, like, this is like a big undertaking for, especially because like it was basically something that maybe was a better script than it was like an actual, without a big budget, like to produce.
You will
But
get that. It's just
yeah,
I
but
we had snobs like, oh, if it doesn't look like a Christopher Nolan or Michael Bay movie, it's not gonna be good. And
I
then
hate that.
and then we had those who say, and make sure it's not like Tarantino or Star Wars because you can't relate to that shit in real life.
Yeah.
It's a
But it's like,
movie.
it's a movie. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was, I remember that advice where it's like, write, write what you know. And I was like, no. And then I was like, I wrote a period piece that had like nothing to do with anything I'd ever learned. And
The
I set the
nerve.
whole thing in an elevator. It was like all, basically the whole story, most of the story took place in an elevator. And like, yeah, I don't know. I think
Was it
write
a
what you
love in
want
an
to
elevator?
write.
I'm just
Well,
kidding.
yeah, it was the Aerosmith. Sorry.
I'm kidding. But
No, yeah, I just did the music video for that.
we got a
No,
lot of cryptic gatekeeping half the time, it seems. And it's like, well, if you just leave people alone, they're going to have to learn the hard way anyway. And I don't know. Have us worry about sound a bit, I guess.
yeah, I think the gatekeeping thing is for sure real. It's like
This is not
it's
helping
almost like
anybody. It's just sad.
bitter, and I don't want to say this about any of my professors or anything, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, working in film schools who are like maybe a little bit bitter because like they didn't succeed or whatever, and then they like project that onto people
I get that
and
too. You would have people who is like, well, why are you a professor? You worked at the local PBS, but you're not a filmmaker.
yeah, and it's like you're there to learn, and like people shouldn't be shutting down people's ideas, like maybe yeah, constructive guidance and being like, hey, maybe I see what you're going for, but maybe like, make it a
This is
little bit
too
more realistic.
ambitious,
Yeah.
or the sound. I still can't hear the sound. Maybe just that instead of, I don't like the story, therefore I'm giving you an F.
Right. And also like that's another thing. It's like it's the same thing with comedy. Anything creative, it's like you can't judge somebody, like you might not like the story, but it's so subjective. It's like how can you ever just how can you grade somebody on like on that? I mean, I guess if story structure wise, if you're like this isn't working, but people take risks to make something new and make like, like I don't know.
We had a
That
radical
makes
professor who wanted to take everything out of context and always find, oh, that's a little racist. That's stereotypical. It's like,
oh no.
this black actor agreed to play a Nigerian guy. He was going to put on an accent. We knew the risk, but this is a sci-fi apocalyptic movie. I don't think we're looking for complete reality here. Now, again, this is a different time, but like,
Right.
it's interesting how the 2010s, we're kind of seeing now with 2020s. Now, no, I'm not seeing anywhere near as much snobbery about what camera are you using? Oh, you're an amateur. I'm not seeing as much of that gatekeeping either. Now, I think everyone's just like leaving everyone to their own devices or just sinking away because they realize they're insecure and they need to stop picking on people.
Yeah, no, you're right. The snobbery of even like equipment and being like, oh, I remember I used to hate going to the equipment room in college because like the people who
Right?
worked there were like snobs and like were like they didn't make you want to rent equipment. Like you're there to learn, and then they would be like,
If
oh,
you're late by 1 minute, you can't use it the rest of the semester. Okay, well, I don't
right.
want to use your damn equipment anyway, because truth be told, if it comes back damaged, I get blamed.
Right. Or I remember like just like there was a guy who worked there that was like a total snob, and he like I was holding a C-stand or something like the wrong way. And I remember he was like, he just like was a dick. And I was like, it just made me not want to rent equipment anymore.
They
But
always hire the suck ups, the ones who just want to say yes sir and yes sir, and then oh, you can't do this.
they also always wear the like, at least I'm just projecting too, but this guy, he wore one of those like paperboy hats. And I was like, they always kind of look like
They do always have a hat.
auteur, like they want to be like directors, you know? So they're like, this is my way up. I work in the equipment room and I'm gonna like succeed. But
and all they're doing is weddings and photography, and they got a bunch of tattoos. Yeah, it's
a lot of that. Yeah. I think
I hope we're far from that, especially now that people are putting their movies on Tubi and at local Angelica art house theaters. Everyone can be a winner instead of
and everyone can shoot on their phone.
There's that. I think Netflix is opening it up now, where everyone was so angry at how unprofessional they were being. It's like, well, it is professional now.
And I think the strikes will shake things up a lot too. It's going to be a lot more focused on independent. Like we're getting away from the big studio kind of mindset of like, you need big budget and you need big name actors and you need big name directors. Like it's kind of like content creators everywhere now. We
still have the misconceptions. There's still people who think it can't be sci-fi if there's no effects. And they say, so riddle me this. Do you think those are the same kind who mislabel a genre?
Yeah.
Like you'll see people who go, oh, it's not horror, it wasn't scary. I'm like, it's a gothic movie about a vampire movie. It's some kind of dark fantasy horror movie. Or I didn't think it's action. There's only one gunfight. I'm like, well, there's still
what is this criteria? Yeah.
It can be both. It can be action mystery, it can be crime horror, it can be sci-fi drama.
I know. And then like sci-fi is so broad too. Like I think like Twilight Zone, you know, I'm like, that doesn't have effects really, like maybe some practical makeup stuff, but like Twilight Zone's like fantasy sci-fi.
I'm glad to bring that up because I've encountered people on both ends. I've encountered people say, I don't like sci-fi or I don't like horror, but I like the Twilight Zone. I'm like, it's both.
It's kind of both. Yeah, it's definitely
sometimes
both.
It's a Western or more monkey's paw morality tale. So
yeah,
what's the problem?
Yeah, I could everything. Oh yeah, that reminds me too of like I did have a script I turned in college that was like it was a comedy horror. It was a dark comedy, but it started off more of like a lighter kind of comedy. And I remember I had a note from my teacher who was like, you can't just like switch tones like that because it got a little dark in the middle.
Yes, you can.
And then it kind of switched back. But yeah, I remember being like, but why not though? Because I did it.
We do it all the time.
Yeah.
Hello, look at Jim Carrey movies. Look at Wishmaster. Hell, there's plenty of movies that switch tones midway through.
Or midway through franchises like Evil Dead. And like
there you go.
Evil Dead went to Army of Darkness.
The
and
Terminator is a robotic slasher, and then it becomes an action sci-fi stunt spectacular. So yeah, I mean, Gremlins. Hello.
yeah. People. Yeah, it's like it's whatever
Indiana
you want.
Jones.
Indiana Jones went sci-fi.
Yeah, fantasy. Temple of Doom's total terror movie. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like did he even say why?
I guess I don't know. It's just like what you said, going back to like a general snobbery of like there's this people who feel like they know film better than everyone else, and I think they're getting the more that we learn about film and the more people who are allowed to like make, even people on TikTok. I've seen some pretty cool shit on TikTok and I'm like, this person is like a horror filmmaker, but like on a mini scale. And like even that kind of stuff is like, you know,
music video guys can make a living, but I see so many people act like, oh, they clearly have a lack of a narrative. Oh,
yeah.
It's a different kind of narrative.
It's different. Yeah.
It's known for being flashy, but
yeah, there's guidelines and there's like books and you're like, you know, story structure, you know, Save the Cat or whatever. But like,
I love that book. Yeah.
Yeah. But then there's also like people make movies that are like weird all the time or like don't follow narrative structure. Like, I don't know.
Give it all away in the first 5 minutes and yet there's still like 5 more plot twists. Yeah. It's.
Yeah. Did you see Beau is Afraid? Did you see that one?
Not yet. I've seen the earlier 2 Ari Aster movies. But that's a good example of a movie that's hard to classify.
Yeah, that one's weird, and it like also is definitely like, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to classify.
We got a lot of emo movies nowadays. We got a lot of movies where like literally the gimmick is like one thing. Like, we readapted a TV commercial, or we have no one talking. It's just fully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
what's that
Every
noise?
I wonder if anyone's done an ASMR like storytelling yet. Probably. I bet somebody
You,
could. I mean, that's narrative,
you can
like
be the
whatever.
first.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to like. And then he went to the store and picked up a jar of peanut butter, and it was the crunchy kind. ASMR, first ASMR story here on this podcast.
So, given the strikes and everything, and just doesn't seem to be any ray of sunshine around the corner, what do you recommend for just a lot of independent sets and everything?
As far as like what do I recommend as in like
Yeah, because
getting
web series don't seem to be as big a thing, but they could easily come back just like that. Um, there's always
yeah.
festivals open, and what have you.
Yeah. And I guess are you asking like what's the recommendation to kind of like get something independent going up or like
That and stay busy for those still trying to be relevant.
yeah, yeah. I mean if you're trying to just stay busy like I mean I don't know, yeah, just get out there and like, get people that you like working with and like just go and make something like and
Audio
don't worry about
dramas.
yeah, make whatever you want and like, I think even if you're like not quite sure how you want it to turn out yet. A lot of the times, like creativity inspires more creativity. So, like, you'll go out and make like a dumb, like, whatever short film that is really, with just you starring your friend and they're like,
Right?
it's like a horror movie or whatever. But like,
I
even if you're
promise
like,
you, I'll put you in one of our audio dramas.
yeah, yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking it like during COVID, I felt like this kind of question. It's like, how did we keep busy, And there was people who were like putting up there was one film festival, like stay at home film festival basically, and the
Oh,
challenge
nice.
was it was like a 48-hour thing and you had to write it, direct it, edit it, star in it, basically do everything yourself for like COVID safety.
Right?
Um and that was super fun because you just kind of like the bar was kind of like
Pick a constructive
lower.
angle.
Yeah, I don't know. You just kind of like didn't have to make it good. You wanted to make it good, but you basically like
What is
you
good
didn't
nowadays? Because I'll see people even weigh that around. I
that's
want to keep working on
yeah,
this till it's good. How about until you're satisfied, or
right.
you've screened it to free people and
Good
they're
to
asking
you.
this question?
Yeah. Uh, I mean, yeah, I guess that's my advice is like if you have like a big project in mind that you want to make, like I don't know, I'm not much of a crowdfund person. Like I don't do like Kickstarter and stuff like that. I've done it like once or twice, but I don't personally like doing it just because I always feel weird about it. And I know that that's
Yeah,
like my own thing, but
it's a lot on the line. I get it. It's
yeah, but
maybe a
I
bit
know a lot
much.
of people who've done it and like I've done it too and it's like, people are willing to give like if you're like I want to make this movie, you'd be surprised at how many people are out there just like wanting to just like support you, like even if it's $2 donation, $3 donations, like that's
Hmm.
like a way to like get started or just write something that's like you can do no budget. Like that's what I've done a few times and it's just like, yeah, this was written to be shot in an alleyway like guerrilla style, like, you know, um
I love guerrilla style. It's interesting
yeah.
how there's so many people who do the whole location permits only or guerrilla style. And it's like you can do both.
You
Go
can do
down the
both.
alleyway, which is abandoned at all times with no homeless or police instigating, and you know, free scenes done. Then go back to the place which you have permission from a friend or business owner to shoot there for the day instead of, well, I'm waiting on the city permit, who often collects the
Yeah.
$200 fee but never gives me a yes.
And yeah, honestly, it's like the worst what's the worst that can happen? I guess they tell you to stop, like you're not going to get arrested.
Yeah. Well, every
Uh
city is different, but at worst, they're just going to say, did you delete it? And you can always say, yes,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
kind of.
yeah.
The
And I mean
stuff
like
that's incriminating.
especially if you're just like kind of what like I don't know like people or less like the chances of you getting like busted for something like that it's like whatever it's just the whole don't ask for permission beg for forgiveness thing. I
Right.
I think that's the motto for a lot of filmmaking
That's a good
honestly.
take. Yeah.
I think And yeah, just learning shit, honestly, like online. That's another, I think, advice is like, if you're like, oh, I want to dabble in animation or something, like, I mean, I like learned all my editing stuff on YouTube, and like, I think you can just,
No need for
especially
college,
with
baby.
film. Yeah,
Just
you really don't. I honestly, that was my one big regret was like, I met people in college and I made good friends and stuff, but
same.
I was also
5
like,
friends I could not live without, but other than that, fuck it. It was
but
bad.
other than that, it's like, man, I just wasted a lot of money on something I did not need.
Uh,
Like, no one's asked me to see my degree. Like, really, all you're doing is you just get out
no,
there and you work on sets, and then you just kind of network, and that's really
as
what it
long as you
is.
say yes to buying coffee, you can pretty much get a gig. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So the college is that's also good advice. If you're interested in film and you haven't gone to college for it, don't worry about it. You don't need it.
You just need time management, really.
Time
Just
management, learn the skills, and then go meet people. Really.
have a passion. Don't be a dick to someone who doesn't like your idea. Rework it. It's like, okay, I am too full of myself. Maybe I should just cut out those free subplots because it's too much for a damn movie or short.
Yeah.
Instead
Also,
of
just
you're wrong, man.
yeah. Yeah, don't be a dick is probably a good rule of thumb. There's a lot of people who are assholes on set. And that's
Ah,
actually one of the reasons I don't, I
mhm.
mean, honestly, like I used to work on sets a lot and I hated how much condescension there was to like
Yes.
PAs. Like I was a PA for a while and like there's
Hmm.
just so many people who just get their rocks off like being mean to PAs. Or not mean, but like they just want to like be bigger. Like
Right.
they want to be demeaning because they're like, I'm more important than you. I
Give
get
them
paid
3
more than
different
you.
things to do. If I'm PA, can you also make me unit production assistant and I don't know, set designer instead of just one inky dinky thing that's not going to be in the main credits?
Yeah.
Can the
Yeah. And I
makeup
mean, like,
assistant be also a stand-in? I don't know.
right. I guess it depends on the production, right? But like, if it's like a
Share the
smaller thing,
responsibility. Like the stunt people and actors will probably do at least 5 different background roles, so you might as well just have the
yeah.
cinematographer also be one of the editors, or the
Yeah. I
color
mean,
corrector can be the grip.
if it's like if you're just kind of like, yeah, doing it like smaller scale, I feel like why not? Like, there's so many people who are like multi-talented. It's like, let them show off their talents,
Yeah, instead of,
being so
well, we
like,
got to hire an army.
yeah. And
We don't
like,
have a payment for 12, we have a payment for 10. You know?
uh, yeah. And that's honestly the really big nice thing about like trying to just go shoot your own stuff. Like, cause you just like, I don't know, even that person I met on the first set that I worked on out here, like we went to go shoot one of her short films, which was like an Edgar Allan Poe kind of comedy thing. And yeah, it was just like that. It was like one of us was holding the camera sometimes, one of us was holding a light, and then one of us was doing stunts, and then another person was like an extra, and like we
There you
were just
go.
kind of running around. But it was honestly, it's way more fun that way because it's like people
Yes,
you already like working with, you're getting creative together, you're collaborating. It's like,
it's
and like
lovely.
even like when we're talking comedy, like the best like comedy groups are people who are like friends, and like, and I feel like the same goes for like movie people. Like, I don't
Hmm.
know. I mean, the only example I'm thinking of right now is like Adam Sandler, just because I watched that new Adam Sandler movie yesterday.
Oh,
But
there you
like Adam
go.
Sandler has a crew, like that they
Yeah,
just go and film movies together for fun.
people have been with them since 30 years ago, but that's a good point. Yeah, yeah, instead of telling people you should never work in this position or waiting for them to figure out what they're better at, just kind of just slowly evolve. It's like, okay, they want to be the gaffer, but they're not good at knowing the different temperatures and everything, so maybe they should be, I don't know, uh, uh the set locator, uh the I can't speak today.
Like
The
location
location
scout.
scout, yeah. And
Yeah.
instead of just acting like they're not good at that one thing, therefore they should not be in film at all. It's like, well, maybe this guy can be an actor. Maybe they should just be a voice actor. It's just, there's a difference.
Right. And there's also just like discovery, like you learn as you work on set, like what you're good at. And like you might think you are a cinematographer when you go to college and then you come out and you're like, actually, I think I'm like a set designer, or
Yeah,
whatever. Like, I don't know. I mean, I see people that even like, COVID changed a lot of that too. There's a lot of people who were like comedians who like figured out halfway through the pandemic that they were like, actually, you know what? Like other things are more important to me than comedy. And like, that's totally fine. That's another piece of advice is like, it's a totally fine to change your mind about something, you know, and like,
Totally.
and change careers and try other creative things. Like, you know,
Right?
go painting or like go,
They can do
I don't know.
makeup, but they can't do creature effect makeup. So stick with basic makeup.
Yeah, go work. Yeah, I have a cousin who works at Sephora and she's really great at it. She does really
Woo.
great makeup, you know? Like, yeah, and there's people you need that. Like you need that kind of person on set who can do like whatever. There's also a job for like everything. That's another thing
Yeah.
that's crazy. And like even like, I don't know, I had a neighbor who at my old apartment complex and she like did like food. She basically like did the food I don't know what the title is, but she basically made food look good on like commercials or like
Oh, there you go.
or like a food designer basically.
Prop
like
designer, yeah.
yeah, but it was like specifically food. Like she would be the one to take like a Burger King bun and like make it look all like shiny and add all the like sesame seeds and like that's a job. And I'm like, that
And you
sounds
gotta be
kind of
able to
fun.
laugh at yourself because half the time you won't even know how to describe half of what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like, and then she was telling me some crazy stuff, which is like, you know, like, oh, how do they make the bun? Like, you know, all the tricks that they do to like make fake food look good. But like that's interesting to me. I'm like, there's always some like crazy job you don't even know like
Yeah.
exists in production. It's wild.
And it doesn't have to be derogatory. It doesn't have to be just off color. It can be just like, hey, this is what do you got coming up next on the podcast? You got to watch this.
Well, right now, I think next we have a guest, and we are waiting for their movie list. So I'm not sure what movie we're doing next, but yeah, I mean,
You need to see this. Not you got to watch this.
yeah, same thing, pretty much. Yeah. So I don't know what it is yet, but hopefully something good. Yeah. Sometimes it's like a movie I say yes to, and I actually haven't seen it in a long time, and I'm like, I hope it's good as I remember. Because it's hard to recommend movies like, or actually it's easy to say yes to a movie and then be like, what the hard part about our podcast is like coming up with the 5 reasons and like
yes,
doing it without spoilers. Like that's really hard because it's like, I don't know, you just don't want to, you want to say all the good stuff, but that a lot of the times is the spoilers. So
yeah,
that's difficult. Yeah.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And any upcoming events at the said theater that you'd like to promote too?
Yeah, let's see. My next sketch show, I'm on a new sketch team at the Pack, Dreamboat. And we have a show on October 1st at 9 p.m. In Los Angeles. But yeah, we have follow us on all the social medias at Dreamboat Comedy.
Cool.
And then at You Need to See This too for You Need to See This pod, I think is our Instagram. And then if you just type in You Need to See This, like on formerly Twitter, now X, I guess we're on there too. I'm not on there as much anymore.
I can't blame you.
Yeah. Things have changed
so much.
Yeah, but we're on Facebook and on Instagram, and yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
If anyone needs just a cool voiceover artist or just some comedy tips, hit her up. Miss Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. DM. No, don't. I want to say slide in my DMs, but that sounds weird. So don't just message me or email me.
Got it going on.
Yeah.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and foodie debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up